Hi. Okay, I guess this is happening. I'm not used to not having a moderator, so I am my own moderator today. I am Megan Fox, and I'm here to talk about Pretty Boys Are Poisonous. And I guess I could explain why I wrote the book. I feel like that's going to come up in some of the questions, so I won't spend too long on it. I think I, like most of us, have had a lot of what could be considered traumatic experiences over the course of my life, especially in terms of like interpersonal, intimate relationships. And while I think I processed a lot of it privately through therapy and other ways, I felt like I needed to express it and sort of give birth to my healing in an art project. And I don't really feel like that's something I can do being an actor. So I turned to writing as a form of healing and to experience some catharsis. And that's how the book came to be. I'm definitely not um I never thought of myself as an author before or a poet per se, but this felt like the right space for me to express these particular things. So, I think we're gonna start taking questions from you guys. I don't know how this works. I think they're gonna pop up in the chat or on the screen at some point. I'm just gonna wait until that starts happening, and then I'll start reading them and answering once that happens. I'm really bad with technology, so we could be sitting here staring at me for a while. Do you know if it's gonna pop up on the screen? Okay. I could do it in reverse. I could do the rapid fire questions first. I could tell you guys a traumatic story from my childhood about when I learned to ride a bike. I'm gonna start doing these rapid fire questions while they figure out the fan questions because I have these right here. Where was I born? Oak Ridge, Tennessee. Um, Technically, I lived in a place called Rockwood, which is even smaller, but the hospital was in Oak Ridge. Who would you want to play? I have to move the screen in a movie. You know, it's been done and it's been done really well by somebody, but I always felt like I would actually be a good Marilyn because I don't necessarily look like her. Maybe with some prosthetics I could, but I feel like she's my spirit animal or that she's sort of been in my aura for a long time or that her energy is around me. I really resonate with her story and just with her as a person and with her energy. So I feel like I could pull that off. Obviously, I could maybe play like an Ava Gardner, but the fun of playing the fun, I guess, would be more cathartic, not fun, of playing Marilyn and being able to like transmute her suffering. What was my first job? I worked at a place called Tropical Smoothie in Florida, and I was really bad at my job. I was supposed to be making smoothies, and I found the one corner of the shop that wasn't on camera, so I could sit and hide and not work. And for some reason, I thought my boss wouldn't figure that out because I let everybody else work, and I would just sit in the corner. This is before phones even existed, so I wouldn't even wasn't even like on my phone. I was just sitting doing nothing. Got fired from that job. What chore do I hate doing? I hate doing all chores. I'm not a chore person. I'm not a responsible person. I'm not a pragmatic person. I want to live in a fairy forest and have no responsibilities. But if I had to pick a specific chore, I would say washing dishes because I hate how the dishwashing detergent makes my hands really dry and really ugly. But I hate all of them, but that would probably be the worst one. What is your biggest fear? That could go in a lot of directions. I guess one of my children dying before I'm dead because I can't live through that, but then I would have to live for the other 2. We could go so deep with that one. I think that would have to be my biggest fear. Who makes you laugh the most? Um, that's a tie between my kids and my nephews who are, like, grown. They're, like, in their 20s now, and, my partner. What is the one thing you need to have in your fridge at all times? I'm a really boring eater, guys. I eat fully organic, gluten-free, dairy-free. But when I'm really depressed, I will eat organic ice cream from grass-fed cows, and that's always in there for the moments where I'm PMSing or really frustrated about something, and I like the maple flavor. Um, what was your favorite subject in school? Lit or English? I failed everything else. I hated everything else. I ended up quitting school. These are not very rapid fire because I talk too much. Who is the most interesting person you've met in that I've met recently? Hmm. Billie Eilish. She is like the tree from Avatar. Her soul is like an old, wise tree. I told her this. She was like, "Thank you." Um, I don't know how to explain it. She seems something about her feels ancient, even though she's so young. She has a really deep energy. What is your middle name? Denise. And Fox is my real last name. Frank Fox is my dad. That's not a stage moniker. What is your biggest pet peeve? Chewing. I can't stand to hear people chew, especially if I'm trapped with them, like on an airplane and someone's chewing gum, or if I'm trying to watch a movie and somebody's eating popcorn. And if they like start eating the beginning of the movie and then they take a break and then they start eating again, like mid movie or towards the end of the movie, because I survived the first, I give everybody, I'm like, okay, there's going to be 15 minutes of eating, but then after that, I'm safe. But then the people that like hold on to their Twizzlers or whatever and then start eating them again at the end of the movie, fuck you. I hate that. That I really can't stand it. It makes me, I'm sweating right now. I'm mad about it. What is your favorite hobby? Um, Tarot cards, I guess, or astrology. What is your guilty pleasure? I have no vices except for the ice cream. I don't even drink coffee. I'm so boring. I'm super sorry. Guilty pleasure though, I would say when I was really struggling, my friends were all like, "Hey, you're way too deep and this is too much. You think too much. You need to watch something shitty on TV." And they made me watch Love is Blind. And I got very invested in that. And I was very upset about a lot of the things that went on that TV show. And I watched all of the seasons. So that's embarrassing. And definitely, I would say, like, a shameful pleasure. Do you have any hidden talents? Um, Not being dumb is probably a hidden talent because most people think I'm stupid and I'm not. But in terms of like juggling, no, I can draw. Okay. I'm a decent artist. What color is your toothbrush? I change out my toothbrush every couple of weeks because I'm a germaphobe. It's usually black though. What is your pet's name? Don't have any. What is your favorite word? Ephemeral. What is the last album you bought or streamed? I think the politically correct answer is Machine Gun Kelly, but I don't buy albums. Um, I did stream the Barbie soundtrack. So that was probably most recently. What is the last gift you gave? Um, a gift card to Nobu. Not a good answer, sorry. Wah, wah. Uh, what cause is dear to your heart? Lots of causes. I think like anything to do with women or children. And then obviously the very sad state of our environment, which is so depressing. I don't even want to talk about it, but that's near and dear to my heart, even though that almost feels hopeless. What is your greatest achievement? Definitely the way that I get to see myself through my kids' eyes and watching them be so healthy and happy and so innocent still because I've really protected them from the internet and from phones and from people in general. And they're still like so innocent and pure, even though they're getting older now. Everybody's like, God, your kids are still like little kids. It's amazing. They're not jaded or tainted by society yet. So I think that's like a pretty amazing achievement. And we're on to the last rapid fire question. So I hope the fan questions show up. Where do you want to go that you've never been? There's a lot of places. I would love to go to Africa, to different places on the continent. I've been to Johannesburg and something about Africa is so magical, so I'd like to go back but see other parts of Africa, and then I would really like to go to Vietnam. I feel like a calling to go there for some reason, probably to go to that cave, that subterranean amazing cave that takes like a 3-day hike, and supposedly there's reptilian aliens inside. So those are the places I want to go. That's the end of the rapid fire questions. And I don't see anything in the chat. We're going to have somebody step in and help. Do I scroll down, or I don't know? No. Okay. I'm going to read them off of this, you guys. Okay. Amelia asked, being in the public eye, do you find it hard to find people to connect with and find true friendships? And then there's a second part to that question, but I'll answer the first part. Yes. It's hard. I've had the same friend group for a long time. It's hard also to make friends inside the industry because we're all so fucked up. So, and everybody has like a vested interest in their own success or their own. It's hard to trust people in general, whether they're in the industry or not in the industry. And for me, I'm an introvert, and I think making friends in general is hard because I was always like an outcast and never experienced the world as an accepting place. I always experienced it as very like isolating and people as being cruel. So because I hold that belief, it's very hard for me to open, because I'm really tender and actually very vulnerable, but I don't like to express that or allow people access to that at all because it's painful. So making friends is difficult for me in general. Do you ever wish you were not famous and can live an ordinary life? I'll be honest with you, no. That's my Leo moon talking. I don't think it could live not being in the spotlight, even though I'm an introvert and so many aspects of the spotlight are hard. I just feel like it's a part of my soul's purpose and calling was to be in a platform somehow like this. So I would feel like I wasn't living out my journey if I wasn't doing this. I'm still not really sure what I'm supposed to be doing with it. I just know that I'm supposed to be doing something here somehow. But I obviously do wish that I could like, I'm in New York. I wish I could walk around and enjoy New York and not get stalked by paparazzi. It's not fans and people. Fans and people have actually been pretty great. I hate when my bangs do this. But the photographers are annoying because they're always looking for like the wrong angle or a bad picture so that there's more clickbait for whatever website picks it up, and that's very stressful. Imagine like wanting to eat an ice cream on the street and you're like, well, I can't because I'm going to look hideous eating and that'll go everywhere and I'll be a meme, and everything is like I'll be a meme, so you have no freedom to relax and enjoy yourself ever. That's very stressful. um Yelena, I hope I'm pronouncing your guys' names right, asked, has poetry always been a part of your life, and if so, did that make you realize you wanted to write your own poetry? Yeah, I've read poetry my whole life. I wouldn't say I was like I'm really well versed in it. I oddly did gravitate to Charles Bukowski, who is not a good dude. However, there was something so like penetrating about his poetry that I did really enjoy. And then as I got older, I found Amanda Lovelace wrote a book called To Make Monsters Out of Girls, I think. And I was really moved by the stories in that book, by the poems in that book, because it was felt so raw. Someone's calling me. Who is it? It's that guy. Um, and I think she inspired. Sorry, technology. That was the speaker. She inspired me a lot to start writing because I think that was the first time I'd really read a woman writing specifically. Not that she was the first to do it, but she was the first that I read to write about toxic relationships. And I was like, hey, I've had a lot of those. Maybe I could write about that. I relate. Um, Darren asked, you've always come across as very intelligent. Thank you. Not many people have paid attention to that. Thank you for observing that. And I'm so happy that this book gives you the opportunity to see another side of you. What are you most excited about people discovering about you through this book? Um, That's a good question. I think I'm a little jaded in terms of how people view me because I have been in this industry for so long. And I would say most people who know my name wouldn't associate me with being well spoken or intelligent or funny. That's also something that I think is like so lost on people, which is so sad because I think I'm like a pretty funny person. But I think if I was gonna say I'm excited for anything, I'm excited for people to just realize that I've had a very human experience and I have not had um, a life that's been easy, and I struggle with things that maybe people think I don't struggle with, or you think you see someone at a certain level of celebrity or in this culture in a way, and you assume, like, well, they must be above these types of experiences. They must respect themselves in a way. They wouldn't find themselves trapped in these kind of situations. And we do, and I did. And I guess I'm excited for people to discover that because they may find some kind of relief in knowing, like, this isn't limited to me or someone who lives here or does this for a job. This affects everyone. And my getting a lot of phone calls, and this pain is relatable. I hope that's a good answer to your question. Okay, Baborka, I'm really sorry if I'm saying that name wrong, asked if you could see the faces of people while they are reading Pretty Boys Are Poisonous, which poem would most like their reactions to? Which poem would I most like to see their reactions to? I don't know. I think the funny ones. I don't know if I have one specifically, but it's kind of like a stand-up comic doing his jokes in a room and wanting to see which jokes land. So I think I would be interested in seeing, like, is this actually as funny as I think it is? Or am I just I'm weird and have a very niche sense of humor? Lisa asked, as a mother raising kids, what do you feel is the most important characteristic you want to instill in them? I think because I have boys, and because of my experience with men, I've been hyper aware of being very engaged with my children and making them feel very safe and very secure. And I tell them every day how beautiful they are. I tell them every day how smart they are, how funny they are, and how good they are, because I don't think anything comes from criticizing your children. A lot of parents parented, I think, the wrong way, where they think you have to criticize a child and be hard on a child so that they are then hard on themselves so that they grow up to be ambitious or to not be lazy or not be entitled. And I disagree. I think words are spells, and what you speak to your children will become. And so I always tell them how loving, how generous, how good they are. Is this answering your question? Let me revisit your question. What characteristics do I want to instill in them? Yeah, that honesty. I want boys who are not going to be manipulative. I want boys who are able to be emotionally intimate with their partners. I want boys who are going to be respectful and honest. I want boys who are not going to cheat. I want boys who are not going to, have 100 girls in their DMs while they have a girlfriend that they're professing their love to simultaneously. I want boys who are capable of, like, a pure, good, sweet love. I want to raise men that women are so relieved to be married to because they're like, wow, I got lucky. This is such a good person. And I also want to instill creative freedom in my kids, for them to be brave to express themselves however they want to, through the way that they look or with whatever art form they choose. Or fuck it, one of my kids could be a scientist. I don't fucking know. I doubt it because I'm the mother, but maybe, you never know. Um, Abby asked, "What inspired you to write a poetry book? Was it a specific reason or due to something that happened in your life?" I kind of answered that in the beginning. I think, like, I just felt like it was time, something creative needed to come out of me, and that will manifest when that energy comes for you. If you It will manifest also as, like, childbirth sometimes too, because your soul is needing to create and be a part of the creative process. And so I needed to give birth to something, like, soon. I felt it. And I'm obviously not going to write a movie that takes years to write and sell a movie and make a movie. There's a strike happening. I couldn't, like, be cast in a movie. There were so many obstacles that this was my outlet for whatever reason. I just clung to this and was like, okay, something has to come out of me. It needs to come out now. I have, like, a very limited experience with poetry, but it's enough, I think, that I can make it happen and it'll be impactful for people. So That's how the book came to be. Wanyo? I'm so sorry, I don't know these names. Juanjo, right? Wanyo? I'm so sorry. Asked, "Has it been emotionally difficult or tough to write the book? I'm so excited and I can't wait to read it. Thank you." Um, I think it was the opposite. I think it was really easy to write the book and felt so good to write the book. I think it's been more difficult leading up to releasing it because these things are embarrassing for people to talk about. It's embarrassing for me to admit like that I've been in these situations for a long time in my life or been stuck in these patterns and not been able to heal them or move past them. And so I'm anxious, but the writing process was a really good process and one that I really enjoyed actually. I think I'm gonna keep even if I don't ever release a book, I'm just gonna keep writing and doing the same thing that I did because I had such a good time doing it and I had such a release doing it. I'll just burn everything afterwards and like with some sage and essential oils, really release it to the universe. Um, Katie asked, were there any poems that you included in the book that you initially wanted to keep to yourself? Yes, most of them. There were definitely obviously the most graphic one in the book is called Oxycodone and Tequila, unless it's tequila and oxycodone, I don't remember how I worded it, but that one's very graphic in terms of the description of the violence, and that one I hesitated on, and I had to ask, and I was like, "Are you guys sure I should include this in the book?" It's a lot for somebody to read. It's a lot for me to read. My mother's gonna read it, um, but everybody felt like that particular poem is going to speak to people who need to hear it. And so we did include it in the book. And there were so many more that didn't make it in the book because I was horrified and I was like, no one should read these. Um, Jeffrey asked, who or what inspired you to be a poet? I think I kind of answered that earlier. It wasn't a specific person, although I've been inspired by other people's poetry. I think I just had no other creative outlet, and this is where it came. Like, it could easily have also gone into me being like, I want to do an art installation somewhere, and I have ideas for that too. But this was the quickest way I could get all of this energy out. Brooklyn asked, how did growing up in the public eye in your formative years affect you and make you who you are today, especially being so young and having so much attention being towards your sexuality? How did this make you perceive yourself? Obviously, I think being famous at any age is very difficult, and the more unhinged you are, the more difficult it is. I think like I always, even though I went through a crazy phase in my life, have always had a pretty good sense of who I am. All of my readers tell me this is my last incarnation, this is my last lifetime. And I agree with that because I always had like a really strong moral compass. Even when I wasn't acting on it, I was very well aware of like, okay, this is your youth and your journey, and this isn't you, but you have to live this to have the experience. I'm not answering your question at all. So the sexuality part, I think forget the sexuality, just so much focus on how I look has been stressful because it's kind of like, um, it the bar is set so high, you're gonna constantly be disappointing people when there's this, like, legend built up around specifically the way you look where you feel like you can never have an off day, and I kinda think I went in the opposite direction with that. I really rebelled against that where I, like, didn't wear anything but sweatpants for 10 years and, like, really rebelled against needing like, the energy that preceded me in every room of like, oh, she's coming and she's special for some reason, or she's beautiful, or she's whatever. And I didn't feel that way, obviously, because I feel like everyone else feels, which is like shit about myself. I don't know if anybody wakes up and is like, I'm really special. I'm so beautiful. If you wake up like that, you're probably a sociopath. Um, so there was just a struggle with so much attention on how I look, whether it's sexual or not. I still struggle with that now, and I'm sure I will always struggle with it. I'm sure I'll struggle with it more actually, like being a woman in the industry, like once you really do start getting older, because one day inevitably it happens. And I think at that point I'm gonna have to just move to a mountain in Tibet and become a monk because I'm being in Hollywood as an older woman is not it for a fragile soul like mine. Um, Brooke asked, "Do you have any mantras or techniques like breathing or affirmations or other things that you apply to combat moments of anxiety to combat moments of anxiety or stress in daily life?" I do meditation generally. I do a lot of like soul journeying and like spirit animal stuff and work like that. I like to do I did ayahuasca and um, things like that resonate with me the most. Affirmations are absolutely the most important thing that you can do because what you believe becomes your reality. What you believe, where your consciousness is, where your frequency sits, that's what you attract to yourself. So if you believe, like I've always had this belief that I'm going to age in reverse. And recently like I've started going and whenever I do blood work and they take my blood plasma, the whole room will fill up with nurses and they're like, "Your blood plasma is unbelievable. We've never seen blood plasma like this. Like, this is like the blood plasma of a 6-year-old child. This is crazy. Why does your blood plasma look like this?" And it's because I actually have always truly believed that my cells are going to anti-age. And I genuinely believe it. And maybe it started as an affirmation of like, this is what I want, but I said it enough that it became real to me and it's happening. But you can apply that to anything. And you have to understand that the universe is always saying yes. The universe doesn't say no. And what that means is if you are constantly focusing on something that's stressful for you or you're lacking, like I need more money. The universe doesn't say yes, meaning yes, I give you more money. The universe says yes to it validates what you're thinking and what you're saying, which is that you don't have the money, right? I need it means I don't have it. And the universe says, yes, you don't have it. So you have to learn to flip your perception and the way you process your thoughts and your feelings. And that's through affirmations of saying, I have more than I need. Even if you don't technically think that's true, and I know this is very challenging, the moment you start accepting that I have more than I need, you will see that you will have more than you need. It's a really interesting game and it's a really hard rule to learn. It's a universal rule, but once you find it, it's magic and it works every time. And that's a lot easier said than done. But you start it with something small because if you hold a scarcity belief, convincing yourself that money is energy or that you have enough is really hard to do. So start smaller and then once you see it work, move up to the bigger things. And I promise you you'll see like a massive shift in your life. I'm almost at the last question. Maddie asked, "How do you stay confident and happy when men in society tries to tear you down?" I don't. I get very depressed and I weep often and I get listless and hopeless and I go very dark sometimes. But I think in general, because I just have a connection to something that's bigger than myself. So my connection to God, I was raised Pentecostal Christian. And while I don't subscribe to the Christian religion per se, I always experienced God as like a tangible energy, and that has helped me a lot. So, whatever that would be for you, finding some kind of spiritual thing that is a truth that's so far beyond whatever the fuck is on your cell phone at this moment, or whatever's going on in your family, or whatever's going on at work, there's something so much bigger, so far beyond that you can explore, and that helps bring you out of the depression or the darkness, but you'll never avoid it. Like I'm in the darkness with you guys all the time. Please believe. I just have to constantly crawl back out of it. Arizona spelled with a Y, I love that, asked, "Did you write these poems specifically for the book, or did you just decide to compile a bunch of poems that you had already written?" Both. I wrote some for the book, and then some things I got from text messages I've sent through the years, or letters I wrote, or some things I went and retrieved from people. And I was like, hey, remember when I wrote that to you? Can I have it? Because I need to put it in my book. And some things, I have to burp. This is so gross. I'm going to hold it in. I would never do that. Um, some things were original though. I would lay late at night or like in the early morning in the dark with really sad music playing, and I would let stuff come out of me. And that's where a lot of the original, well, it's all original because I wrote it, but all of the new stuff came from. And what was the other form? I had some journals that I found where I brought some stuff back from there as well. Jordan asked, how was writing as a creative process how has it allowed you to express your voice in a way that interviews and other projects may not have captured? I think like I could be way more savage, which is how I am. Like, I like to be really blunt and cut through. I'm also really sarcastic and sardonic with my sense of humor, and I can't always do that. I do it in interviews. It doesn't go well because no one understands what I'm doing. Because I guess I don't look like what I'm saying. I don't think I think people expect me to be like, and I'm like super excited to like be here for this movie because I've always wanted to be in a movie like this, and like I'm wearing Chanel, which is super cool, and people don't expect me to say the shit that I do say because I don't look like I should be saying it. So my sense of humor is lost, and I have sometimes like stopped even trying to express it because it's no one understands it. So there was a place for me to put it in this book, and then also just I'm pretty fearless in my transparency, whether it's about myself and how I fuck up or the things that have happened to me. And some of it's kind of savage, and I'm just not able to do that in interviews and definitely not in movies. Like unless I specifically was cast in like Witches of Eastwick or something, I could probably bring some of that to the screen. That was the last question. I hope everybody was good with my answers. I hope I answered your questions the way you had hoped. And yeah, thank you for buying the book. That means a lot to me. I hope some of you can find some kind of healing or recognize yourself in the pages, or there's some kind of inspiration or hope for you there. That'll be my biggest accomplishment if that's something that I've been able to do for you. And thank you for watching me talk. I hope it was entertaining, and yes, I appreciate all of you. So I'm going to wave now, and then supposedly I'm going to go off the screen. We'll see how it works. So bye, guys. Thank you.
Hey, this is John Acuff, New York Times best-selling author of 7 books and someone who's done a live signing. If you like the one you just watched, make sure you check out our YouTube channel. It's full of amazing authors having great conversations and signing books for viewers just like you. So make sure you subscribe, and thanks for watching today.